hands to Joss Whedon.
Yo!
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us.
The people are excited.
Test. Okay.
So you guys like know each other, right?
Yes, we do. We have met.
Back in the day, on the WB, when we were doing Felicity and you were doing your spectacular shows.
Yes, we were. We met at the parties. We think. We don't remember very well.
But we do know each other.
Yeah.
We've never met.
Have you had the opportunity to like talk to each other often, or exchange notes or anything?
Yeah. We've partied. No, we haven't. Not that hard.
We've not partied.
But we have. Yeah, we've hung out. We've had dinner. But we don't see each other that much. We seem to be kind of busy.
But I hear about you through like Drew Goddard and stuff.
Yes, Drew Goddard. This entire panel will be about Drew Goddard. He told me to say that.
Before we get into sort of like the questions, just let you know we will have time for questions from you guys. So we're going to leave that toward the end. You guys have been to Comic-Con many times. You guys are big fans of the things that you love. What's the most extreme thing that you guys have done in the name of fandom and in your entire pop culture consuming life? JJ, do you want to take that one?
The most extreme thing?
Yeah. Or
I mean, when I was a kid, I would send fan letters to people that I love, but usually they were not actors or directors. They were usually like the makeup people. So like I sent letters to like Dick Smith and Tom Savini, and Dick Smith did like The Exorcist, and he's one of the greats. And he sent me the tongue from The Exorcist. And I was like 14, and I opened up this box, and there was a tongue, an extension with a note, handwritten note that said, "Put some peanut butter in it, stick it in." And my mom was like, "What the fuck is that?" She was so, but that was mostly my fandom.
do you still have the tongue?
Oh yeah,
You did?
I did. I should have brought the tongue.
You should. Joss?
There's no way I could top the tongue.
You have nothing better than the tongue?
No, I do have an alien egg, but I had to bury the franchise in order to get it.
When did you guys decide that you wanted to be storytellers? What was the inspiration that made you want to do what you guys do today?
I decided that JJ wanted to be a storyteller when he was just a young lad. I always wanted to be a storyteller. There's never been any doubt. I had no idea what form that would take. I just knew I couldn't make an honest living because that sounded hard. And I just felt, I had these universes in my head. I didn't study writing, and I knew I wanted to make films. Probably that was what it was going to be. But I knew I'd create them, but I didn't really think about writing them. And then when I started to write television specs, because I actually needed to eat food and live under a roof, that's when I realized, oh my God, writing is and will always be the thing by which I define myself.
I think that for me it was when I was a kid, I was, and I guess still am, the idiot who loved to do magic tricks for my relatives. So I was just always doing things, and they would be like, "Oh wow, that was amazing," and try and convince me they were amazed. But it was sort of that, I guess, that feeling of creating an illusion and making people believe something was real that they didn't expect. And since I didn't really want to become a professional magician, although I'm certainly debating it still, the idea, sort of writing seems, I guess, like a filmmaking was sort of a natural progression and another option to do sort of the same thing in a different way.
Now, I just want not to bring up Drew Goddard again, but he and Brian K. Vaughan were having an argument about whether comic book nerds or magic nerds were more pathetic. And where do you stand on that?
Well, I mean, the honest answer is, you could make a joke. I could say magic nerds, but I think honestly that neither are really pathetic. But I think really magic nerds.
Yeah. Well, Brian also wore a cape. when he did it. Did you wear a cape?
I didn't wear a cape.
Okay, then you're cool.
And I always wanted a top hat. Never had one of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of being a comic book nerd, Joss, you have...
Should we wake everyone up first?
Wake up!
No. I didn't know if we bored you to death.
No, they're into it. They're totally into Magic Nerd stories. Joss, your superhero comics, comic books of all stripes, very important to you. And now you are directing probably one of those eagerly anticipated superhero movies ever, The Avengers. Is that
true? That is not an official thing. Because I think Marvel couldn't afford like a press release. So can I just make that an official thing? I'm directing The Avengers. It's just a gig, you know?
Were The Avengers a big part of your comic book reading when you were a kid?
Yeah, they were one of the first books when George Perez was drawing them. They were on Counter-Earth. This was a big deal for me, yeah. Squadron Supreme, I'm just saying.
How did the comic book things happen for you? I mean, like, how did you start falling in love with them? And
this actually, in a roundabout way, because my dad was the head writer of the Electric Company, and they were going to do Spidey. They were going to do Spidey stories, so he came home with a bunch of old Spider-Man comics when I was about 9. And, just, sure, hand your son meth. That's great. That was it. Never looked back.
And that's how the comic book love.
So,
and what were sort of like the seminal kind of like superhero stories of your youth?
You know, there's so many that, it would take forever. But I'm just going to go with the Avengers annual and the Thing 2-in-1 annual that Jim Starlin did with the Death Warlock.
Nice.
That was, for me, at the beginning of Run Comics. That is the most underrated, overlooked piece, I think, in the whole Marvel universe.
JJ, were you into like superhero comics at all? Is that like kind of a big passion for you?
I was not as much as Josh, but I worked at a comic book store when I was a kid. One of the first jobs I had, and I was like, just 15 years old, and I got a job and in this store in LA, and the first day on the job, the guy, who was a really weird dude who owned the store, I don't know what he was on, but he gave me the keys, and he's like, I'll be back, I'll see you tomorrow, and he left, and I was like alone in the store with the keys. He didn't even tell me how to lock the door. So I kind of wanted to steal some of the older Spidey books that were there, and I didn't do it. I probably should have done it. But so I would read books, there, and I got into it. But I was never into it as much. I was more like into the Twilight Zone and more TV and movie stuff.
At one point, you did write a script for a Superman movie. It didn't get made. But
it's very well received.
But is that a genre that you'd be interested in returning to, like superheroes, or is that...
Sure, yeah, of course, sure. I'd be open to anything, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Joss, is it too early to talk about kind of like what your take is on the Avengers? Even if you could just sum it up in a line?
I have to have a take?
Yeah. It's helpful when you're a director to have kind of a take on it.
Okay. It is a little early. I am still writing an outline. I'm still I'm still in that stage of reworking it. I will say that the thing that I love about it, the thing that made me excited to do it, was just how completely counterintuitive it is. It makes no sense. These people should not even be in the same room, let alone on the same team. And that, to me, is the very definition of family.
JJ, you grew up making films on that Super 8 camera. You also grew up loving the films of Steven Spielberg. And now you are making a movie called Super 8 with Steven Spielberg. And is that like a total coincidence?
Is it a coincidence?
Is that a coincidence?
It's sort of a dream come true, honestly. The strange thing, this is a weird story.